we've always known, but I think has really been put into sharp relief by COVID and the responses to it that were successful and less successful, is that we often conflate being in a position of authority with being a leader. And those things are very different, right? Just because you're in a position of authority doesn't mean you have leadership skills. And you can have great leadership skills and exert them without being in a position of authority. So both of those things are true. And I think one of the ways that we tackle this at AMP is, we show up in a team at the request of a government to help that team build leadership skills. And you'll notice I'm using the word team. We often think of leadership as an individual enterprise, right? Someone is a leader. And I think there's more and more recognition on the power of collective leadership, right? That teams are actually very effective. The Edelman report speaks about the power of business. Business has figured out this long ago. You talk less about an individual in business doing something, but a team succeeding. And I think when we talk about public servants and public sector, we need to think about how do we work with teams to develop leadership skills as a team? Obviously, individuals need to develop that, but they need to learn to trust each other, to get back to this point of looking internally for trust. And a team that has skills, that learns to trust each other, that's a much more effective team and able to execute and achieve the objectives that it sets out for itself. It also sets a tenor for government that if there's a culture of trust, the way people behave, it's not sort of leadership through authority, but leadership through different styles. One of the things we really work on in AMP is a coaching mentality. How do we lead through asking questions? And if we can show up and ask questions of the communities we're trying to serve, of the people we're trying to serve, and that's the way we lead, that's very different than showing up and saying, these are the data, this is what we're doing, listen to me, this is the way we're going, right? And so I think, the idea of collective leadership, empathic leadership, and servant leadership. And these are some of the mentalities that we're trying to work with governments to realize that those are very powerful lenses by which to look at leadership that actually begin to create a culture of trust, not only within government at a central level, but that cascades all the way down and begins to address, I think, the point that the Edelman report makes very, very pointedly is that there's been a loss of trust in government and in healthcare delivered by government. And I think that focusing on different types of leadership, on a leadership that's really based on questioning, on collectivism, on empathy, on servant leadership, that's a way to rebuild that trust.